Good day, viewers, and welcome to another OnSide SA soccer show. Paul is away, hopefully following the Springboks to win another World Cup. And joining me shortly from his Fulham studio in the UK is our regular correspondent, Stevie Braham. But we kick off, as always, with our last one standing competition. And while there was no round last week, there are 144 entries. We did mention the ladies, the Postnet guys and the internationals. So I'm going to mention the balance of the guys. And let me tell you, there are plenty guys still going through. The guys that are solo got to round 9. Brilliant achievement. We kick off with Murray Dan, Rion Diaga, Brandon Donation, Dean Grove, Graham Bird, Gar Bowman, Roger Laveau, Gary Smith, Gutta Gillespie, Brendan Smith, Rodney van Rensburg, Richard Knight, Jason Nell, James and Jason Fulks, Sawa Khan, Paul DeVerge, Matthew DeToy, Keith Story, Fabio Rosa, David Thompson, Devin O'Connor, Tony Bargate, Clive Dunbar, Kenny Craig, Brett McElligott, John Malem, Paul Lafferty, Clive Napier, Rodney Boyson, Clive Williamson, Robbie Dalton, Kevin Shea, Phil Giorgio, Conrad Roos, Keith Airy, Andre van Bussen, Eric Redman, Scar Shabalala, Lawrence and Jared Verners, Rob Ellis, Graham Hawkins, Kevin Rice, Paulo De Carmo, Beto Quintus, Greg Petzer, Michelle Narak, James Rich, Darren Fox, John Finlayson, Steve Miller, Steve Van der Haar, Bugsy Bilson, Grant Knowles, Bruce Armstrong, Enzo Coppola, Manny Almeida, Gavin Radford, Dario Almeida, Mark Marinkovitz, Robbie Talon, Mark Fulyun, Willie Miller, Sean Harper, Mark Haddon, Derek Conway, and the boys from the Bush Tavern, Stuart Cameron, Jeff Ward, Jeremy Fleming, and Paul Trethaway. While we have 10 former champions still in, they are Gary Citron without the E, Lance Whiteford, Guillaume Nell, Hilton Witz, who's under box 33, Hassan Maul, Brett Galley, Sean Phillips, Sean Matthew, Ernie Wallace, and Derek Ramsey. Guys, please, 12 o'clock is closing time, so get your picks in as soon as possible, because I'd like to send the PDF before the start of the 1:30 Liverpool versus Everton clash. We now go over to our UK correspondent, Stevie Braham, who is also in. Good morning, Steve.
Yeah, it's amazing. Through to round 9, that's the record for me.
Yeah, a lot of guys, Steve, you know, can't believe it. A lot of guys had 1 pick, 2 picks selling through. And it's great, you know, it's nice to have as many people as possible, as opposed to a couple of guys who've got multiple picks. So a lot of pressure on this week, because as you know, you've gone 8 rounds. It doesn't get any easier. Talking about any easier, Steve, England, Italy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was, at the end of the day, it was a good performance and a great result. I mean, yeah. we do not have a particularly good record against Italy. And in fact, in competitions, qualifying competitions at home, that's the first time we've beaten Italy since '77, and I remember that game well. And that still wasn't enough for us to qualify for the '78 World Cup. So no, it was a good result. You know, obviously when Italy went 1-0 up, you started to think, oh, this is going to be hard, because you know we know what they're like. They're hard to break down. But I thought there was some excellent performances. Jude Bellingham particularly, and Harry Kane had a great game. Yeah.
Now they're coming, England. My only concern is, having watched the French, as the back four, that's the problem. The fullbacks, I think, will be fine. It's just the 2 centre halves that's my concern. But good team, England. Don't think they'll beat the French, but you just never know with the French. But anyway, it was an enjoyable game and definitely good result. Steve, weekend ahead, are there any major injuries? I know Robertson from Liverpool got injured. I'm sure he's out. Are there any others?
Yeah, he will be out. Look, I think we'll know a lot more today when the managers start their round of press conferences. I mean, Arsenal Saka is sort of 50-50. Obviously, he wasn't available for England, and they were resting. Some of the teams, you know, have got Chelsea, still got lots of players out. You know, and it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, evidently, Reece James could come back. Tottenham got a few injuries. United, we know, have got a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
The team that hasn't, evidently, the only player that is potentially doubtful for Manchester City is Kevin De Bruyne. Well, who we know is out.
Yeah.
Everybody else is potentially available. So, I think that could be worrying. The fact that they've got their, pretty much their first team squad fit.
Yeah. Yeah, so you'll have to wait for the South Americans because they played Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, so they'll only mainly arrive Wednesday last night or this morning. So that'll be key because obviously a lot of South Americans playing in the Premiership. Anyway, Steve, you're going to get the betting up now. Big game, Liverpool Derby, Liverpool Everton. How do you see it going?
Yeah. No, I mean, you have to fancy Liverpool would be too strong at home. Everton had a good performance last week. They showed a little bit more sort of spirit, but I think Liverpool at home scoring goals. I can see maybe Everton nicking one potentially, but you fancy Liverpool if they've got their front three sort of firing. You fancy Liverpool to win that, and I think they should win by a couple of goals. Yeah,
I agree. I looked at which way to play it. Liverpool to score over 2.5 or a minimum of 3 goals is even money, but Liverpool to win, both teams to score was run about 2-1. But I'm always wary of lunchtime kickoffs, especially the first game back after the international break. But I agree with Steve. Liverpool should be too good. Steve, the next game will be a desperation game. Bournemouth-Wolves. How do you see it going?
Well, this is quite an interesting one because obviously you've got Gary O'Neill back at Bournemouth having been sacked. And it's looking so far like that wasn't really the best decision because he's got Wolves have had a couple of good results. Bournemouth, on the other hand, haven't won a game yet and struggling. I fancy that Wolves might get something there. I just think they've got a player like Neto who's really playing well, and I think Gary O'Neill is going to be absolutely determined to go back to Bournemouth and show them that maybe they made the wrong call.
Yeah, I'm all over Wolves this game, Steve. They're my value bet 19-10. I think it's a great price. 13-10 to score over 1.5 goals. Just their last 2 games, Steve. I know they beat Man City, and Man City missed a few, but just the way they played, and they drew 1-1 with Aston Villa. Away from home, I know there is always a problem, but Neto, he's a superb player, and I just think 19-10, Steve. I think that's worth chancing. So, I've gone that way in several of our bets. Now, the next game worries me. Brentford-Burnley. Now, Burnley are slowly but surely getting to grips with the Premiership. Brentford, I watched them at Man United. Yeah, they're hard-working, but without Tony up front, they lack a little bit of bite. I can sense an upset here. Steve, what do you think?
Well, I was just looking just before. Brentford have got a lot of injuries. They might have Ben Mee back, obviously against his own team, but they've got potentially about a dozen players that could be out or doubtful. And I think you're right. I think Burnley could get something there. Brentford are struggling. They can't win at home.
Yeah.
They're not losing many games, but you think they've only had one win out of their 8 games so far this season. And I think you're right. Without Tony, they didn't really replace. They didn't bring anybody in to replace Ivan Toney, and I think that's shown. They got Kevin Schade, who they spent a lot of money on, and he's out injured now for a while. So I fancy Burnley could get something there.
Yeah, 27-10 the draw. That's worth an interest. Man City, Brighton. Steve, we spoke earlier. Man City have only got one player that's out, and that's De Bruyne long term. Brighton, I was a little bit disappointed against Liverpool. They scored early, but the 2 goals they gave away were terrible. Man City, they're a little bit unlucky at Arsenal. I fancy them all day. How do you see it?
Yeah, I do. I think City will be smarting after losing at Arsenal, and I think that they'll bounce back against Brighton. I mean, Brighton have got a few injuries themselves, and I just wonder whether or not City will just be a little bit too strong for them.
Yeah, City to win by more than 1 goal was a shade over even money, so that's my particular play, but you never know with Brighton. And their last away game, I think they lost 6-1 at Villa. So I think they're going to get a good hiding here, but you just never know. Newcastle, Steve, they're going to be a popular shout in the show at home against a Crystal Palace team who have scored 7 and conceded 7. Newcastle all day?
I think so, yeah. I mean, again, Palace have got a few injuries. SA is out for a little while.
Okay.
Who's sort of one of theirs, and Michael Elise. So I think that Palace make themselves hard to beat.
Yeah.
As you say, they don't score many, they don't concede many, but I think Newcastle at home should be too strong, and I fancy them to win.
Yeah,
win
I
by a
totally
couple.
agree. Newcastle, it'll be tight, but once they get the first one, Palace have got to come out and it could be open gates, but the first goal is obviously crucial. On to our second page, and we've got two teams that are in trouble. Well, they will be near the end of the season. Notts Forest against Luton, Steve. Any chance of Luton getting a point?
Well, look, they can do. I mean, they probably haven't had that many players away on international duty, so that's probably helped them sort of get a bit of continuity. But I think Forest at home are pretty strong, and that's obviously what saved them last year. And I fancy Forest to just edge that. I think it'll be close. Might be more than a goal, but I think Forest should have a little bit too much about them.
Yeah, I totally agree. 4 wins and 2 draws from their last 6 home league games. 6-10 Forest. Bit short for me, but definitely worth looking at. Next game's a big game, Steve. Chelsea-Arsenal. Can Chelsea continue their improved run?
They could do, but again, they've still got quite a few players out. And I think it depends maybe if Saka and Trossard are back for Arsenal. I still fancy Arsenal to get something, if not a win, but certainly to hold Chelsea. I think it'll be a close game. I think Chelsea is certainly improving, and I think that they will claw their way up the table a bit. But again, these injuries, he still hasn't got a settled side. So I'm sort of still erring on the side of Arsenal for me. Yeah,
I think 13-10 is a great price to take a dip on, Steve. I was going to make them my best bet, but first time back, and I found a team in Spain who I think are certainties. But of the two teams, I think Arsenal all day. When you have a look, Chelsea, 2 good results, but it was Burnley that they beat, and prior to that they'd beaten Luton, and I think they beat Fulham, which was a good performance, but I think that had more to do with Fulham not playing well than Chelsea really looking sharp. And against Arsenal, I think 13-10 is a good bet. Steve, having watched Man United the last 2 games, really disappointed in what I've seen, but surely we've got to win at Sheffield United.
You would think so. I mean, Sheffield United a sort of game, and they sort of, I've watched them obviously live and on TV a couple of times, and they try, but they concede goals. Yeah. They're very open at the back, and I can see United sort of winning that, but it won't. I don't think it'll be pretty, and it probably won't be by more than a goal or so. But I think provided United haven't got injuries of key players, I think they should be too strong.
Yeah, you've got to fancy them. Sheffield United, one thing they will do is put the ball on the goalkeeper. I haven't been impressed with Onana. I think they'll score, but I just can't have any of my money, Man United, just on recent performances. Steve, a good game on Sunday. Aston Villa, West Ham. Which way do you see it going?
Yeah, I fancy Villa. I think at home they're strong. Yeah. West Ham having a decent season, but Villa at home are strong for me. And Ollie Watkins has sort of found his scoring boots, and I fancy them to win. I think that those are decent odds at home.
Yeah, I backed them every time at home to score over 1.5 goals. It was starting 12-13-10. Now I think it's 8-10. So that's my play. I agree. I fancy Aston Villa all day. 10 home league wins in a row. Even money looks a fair price, even though West Ham won't make it easy. Monday night, Steve, hopefully you'll be at the game. Tottenham-Fulham. Can you cause an upset?
Yeah. No, I think it's very unlikely, in all honesty. Tottenham are playing well. Yeah. We're still struggling to score goals. Sadly, we've lost Diop at the back.
Oh, no, okay.
He went off injured against Sheffield United, and I don't think we're going to see him for a very short while. So I just think that Tottenham will be too strong for us, and I'd be very surprised if we get anything at all.
Yeah, 18-10, Tottenham to win, both teams to score. Steve, that back four of Spurs, I don't think it's too good, even though things are going for them. But I think you'll score, but I think you'll get overrun. 8, so that's my play there. But you've got to fancy Tottenham. On to the Championship. And first game up on the weekend is on Friday night. Rotherham against high-flying Ipswich Town. Another victory for the Tractor Boys, Steve?
You would think so. Rotherham at home have given teams a sort of decent game, but Ipswich score a lot of goals, and I think that they should be too strong.
Yeah, I've got to fancy Ipswich. We'll have the game on here, so I'll be watching that. Lunchtime kickoff, Steve. My boys Preston, 3 defeats in a row. Any chance we can get back to winning ways?
It's a shame because you were flying high and all of a sudden we're getting caught out. Yeah. But at home you're a hard team to beat, but it's sort of just for whatever reason just gone off the boil. I think this could be a tight game. I've got a feeling could be all square.
Do you? Yeah, you know, speaking to the guys that go and watch them, they said we've been fortunate with a couple of victories. You know, Plymouth, Argyle, we didn't deserve to win, and neither did we deserve to beat Birmingham. So we're in a flattering position. But West Brom was the best side that we've played, according to the guys. You know, lesser away, lesser a class above. The guys telling me about Ipswich too. We had a few chances. I'm hoping we get back to winning ways. Good young team. They're all fit, apparently. I don't know if we had too many guys playing in the international break. But Millwall are never easy to beat. I think there'll be goals, Steve. Hopefully my Preston boys come on the right side of it. But
Millwall sacked Gary Rowett yesterday.
Oh, I didn't know that. Huh.
So, you know, I think that was a bit of a surprise one, bearing in mind that they've come close to playoffs a couple of times in the last few seasons. But got American owners, and they spent a little bit of money in the summer, and I guess they were looking for a little bit more. But they're Millwall are only 3 points off a playoff place. So I don't think people saw that one coming.
No,
but maybe that might upset the apple cart, and if it does, then you know I guess that helps Preston.
Yeah, well, let's hope something helps us. Blackburn, Cardiff City, Steve. There's guaranteed goals in that game. I've watched both teams. Blackburn at home, they've lost 3 of the last 4. Can you see them rebounding?
Yeah, they started off the season quite well, but Cardiff have picked up a little bit of form, and I'm not, you know, the odds seem to be very much in favour of Blackburn, but I'm not sure that Cardiff won't give them a good game and could get something there.
Yeah, I think there's definitely goals. I had a look at the betting, and both teams to score was 6-10, which gave it away, but that would be my suggestion in that particular game. Another game, Steve, Bristol City, Coventry. I don't see Coventry getting beat in this game, but how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, they've been a little disappointing, Coventry. I think people thought that they were, after last season, you know, they would give it a real go, but they didn't replace... well, I said they sold Gokares and brought in Aaron Sims, but you know he hasn't scored the goals that Gokares does. So, but Bristol City are having a sort of semi-reasonable season, and at home they're hard to beat. I wouldn't be surprised if they cancel each other out. But otherwise, if there was to be a winner, I'd go for the home team.
Yeah, I just think it's got draw written all over it, 24-10. The last game on our page is Huddersfield QPR. Steve, I was going to make Huddersfield good things. I've seen QPR. I don't like what I see. I think they're in serious trouble. Fancy Huddersfield all day. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Huddersfield should be too strong. I mean, QPR have had a couple of decent results on the road, but otherwise, it's their home form has really let them down. Huddersfield at home, obviously with the new manager, I think that they will. I think they'll just edge that.
Yeah, I was going to make them my best bet, even money, until I found a team in Spain. But of the teams, I think they're good things. Next game should be a goals galore festive. Plenty of goals. Hull City, Southampton. Can Southampton continue their improved run?
Yeah, they certainly seem to, after that sort of awful run, they've come back. Hull are a decent side, especially at home. But I think you're right. I think Southampton, I think there will... I think you're right. I think there could well be goals, and of the two, I fancy Southampton as well.
Yeah, it looks like they are on the way back. Michael Carrick's Middlesbrough against Wayne Rooney's Birmingham City. I don't see how the betting can be this apart, Steve. I've watched Birmingham City. They aren't a bad team. I know Middlesbrough have won 4 of the last 5, but this is going to be a close game. What do you think, though?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as you say, all of a sudden, Middlesbrough really turned it round, and that was a huge result for them 2 weeks ago, winning at Sunderland 4-0. Birmingham have been playing very well. You know, I mean, it was. You obviously do feel a bit sorry for John Eustace, who got them into a playoff place and then got sacked. Yeah. But obviously, the American owners wanted Wayne Rooney, and that was it. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he does, basically. I think you're right. I think the betting is a little bit skewed, a little bit too much in favour of the home side, and I think that Birmingham could hold them. Yeah,
I'm going to take 34-10 in a couple of my bets. It was even money, win and draw Birmingham City. I couldn't believe that. I know Middlesbrough. I know they beat Sunderland, Steve, but Sunderland had a player sent off early on because I went both teams to score there, and it cost me a few rand. But I think that's a tight game. I don't think the betting gives it away. I fancy Birmingham. I think that's not a bad price. Norwich City, Leeds United, Steve. Another game where there should be goals. Norwich at home aren't bad, but Leeds seem to have found their mojo. Which way do you see it going?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's interesting that in normal circumstances you might have had Norwich as the home favourites, but Leeds on the road have been playing well and scoring goals. I think there will be goals. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if there was to be a winner. It's Leeds.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been really impressed. And I know they have lost a few players, but they've still got some decent players in their side. On to the final page of the championship, and Stoke City against the Sunderland team. Another team where they score a hatful of goals, Steve. But which way can Stoke City rebound? Because they've been really disappointing of late.
They have been. I mean, they're one of those sides that you think they're going to have maybe a decent season, and they just don't seem to do it. Sunderland were on a good run. They'd won 4 or 5, and then obviously came unstuck. But as you say, they had a player off early, and that made a huge difference. Yeah. I think of the two, I still fancy Sunderland, though.
Yeah, me too. I watched Stoke against Preston, and they're one of these teams, they can't score. They seem to drop their heads, and Preston scored too late. But Sunderland scored goals, and I'll feel for Alex Neil. Big 365 owners, they won't be too patient too much longer. So if they don't improve, he's in trouble. Hopefully this game's on, Steve. Swansea, Leicester City. Swansea have come right. You know, we had both disappointed them early on, but they've had a good run lately, and I think they're going to give Leicester City a game here. What do you think?
I think they will. They've won 4 of the last 6, having sort of not won any of the first few. Leicester, though, 6 wins in a row, scoring goals. You think they're going to, I think if there was to be a winner, it probably would be Leicester. Yeah. But I think there will be goals, and I think this could be a really entertaining game. Yeah, hopefully we've got it on ESPN and can tape if I'm not watching one of the other games. But Leicester City, 8-10, they're going to come up. There's no danger about that unless they sell all their players in January. But I'd be careful. First game after, they do have several internationals, but 8-10 is a great price, but there's definitely goals in that particular game. Now, another desperation clash. Your brother's team, Watford, who I think they've only won 2 games this year, Steve, but surely they've got to beat Sheffield Wednesday at home. You would think so. I mean, obviously, as you said, they had that huge win at the beginning of the season, Watford, and since then, bar one other sort of performance, they really struggled. But Sheffield Wednesday are conceding goals, and I think that if Watford could get ahead, I think that they should score a few, and I think should be a comfortable home win in the end. Yeah, it should be. I looked at -1 to win by -1 is 18-10, but Watford have cost me money this season, and so I'm a bit scared to open the wallet, so I may let that one go. And West Brom, Steve, my guys are telling me that Carlos Corberan's the best manager in the championship. I couldn't argue. He said they're gonna be in playoff contention and they will thump Plymouth Argyle. Do you agree? I don't know about thump, because Plymouth are sort of holding their own. Yeah. Up in a higher division. And West Brom probably should be doing a little better than with the players they've got available. But I think you're right. I think they will be too strong. But I don't think it's going to be a complete walkover though. Yeah, I went West Brom to win and both teams to score at 5-2. I thought that was a great price. So that's my suggestion in that particular game. Steve, last week you were on fire. Let's hope it continues this week. Who you on? I don't know about that this week. I'm going to go for Villa. I just think 10 wins in a row at home. I just think that although West Ham, decent side, but I think Villa are, with Watkins scoring goals, I think that they'll carry on their run. Yeah. And my value bet, and you mentioned it, is I'm going for Wolves. Okay. I just think that Gary O'Neill is going to be fired up, and I think with Neto as well, I think they could put another nail in Bournemouth season. It's but this is the sort of game that Bournemouth can't afford to lose. But if they do, they can find themselves fairly soon starting to get a few points adrift at the bottom with Sheffield United. Yeah, it just amazes me, all these American owners buying like the middle to lesser teams in the league, and they think they can just do what they want, get a flashy manager and a guy that's done all the hard work, secured their status, and now they fire him. And we saw Sheffield Wednesday. They fired their manager last year. They had no right. They got beaten in the final. They haven't won a game, and everything. Just can't believe that. But I think the same thing's going to happen with Bournemouth. I think they'll fire that manager in January. Then they'll look for somebody to try and keep them up, because they've had good performances, Steve. But I don't like what I've seen. I backed them once and they were woeful. So I fancy Wolves. I'm like you, 19-10. I think it's a great price. Steve, thanks as always, and get studying. Last one standing. Speak to you later. Yeah. All the best. Cheers, bud. Bye. Thank you. Bye. Our UK correspondent, Stevie Braham. On to South Africa, and we have a new Carling Black Label Cup. The 16 teams from the PSL played, and we had an upset last night where TS Galaxy were 2-0 up.
Mamelodi Sundowns had a player sent off in the 58th minute, came back to 2-2, but lost on penalties. So it looks like the cup, they got beat by Pirates, and now they got stuck out of the Carling Black Label Cup by TS Galaxy. But we'll kick off with the first game, and I'm sure the favourites will be Orlando Pirates, and at home against the Cape Town Spurs team, who have played 8, lost 8. You've got to fancy Orlando Pirates at Orlando Stadium will be too good. Chipper United, yeah, they're playing in Port Elizabeth, the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium, against Stellenbosch. Steve Barker's team haven't got a bad record. And while that's the only betting, both teams to score there will have my money. It's going to be tight. It wouldn't surprise me if it goes to extra time. But 13-10 Chipper is a little bit short. For me, my suggestion in that particular game is both teams to score. Golden Arrows having a great season. 1-4 and drawn 5 of their last, sorry, 1-4 and drawn 1 of the last 5. And playing in Mpumalanga and Hammersdale, that stadium, they've been beating top teams. Cape Town City, I'm a little bit disappointed. I've always followed them. I like Eric Tinkler as a manager. I don't see Golden Arrows getting beat. So my exotics win and draw, but it's hard to fancy Cape Town City on current form. Kaizer Chiefs, AmaZulu. What can we say about Chiefs? Fortunately, this game for them is in Johannesburg. Why they keep going all around the country, playing their home games in Durban, Mozambique and all over, amazes me. AmaZulu just seem to lack goals. Got a fancy Chiefs. 6-10 is very short, but of the two teams, you've got to fancy Amakosi. On to our second page, and we've got Sekhukhune United against Royal AM. I don't see Sekhukhune United getting beat. I think they're a nice team. It'll be a tight game. Under 2.5 goals does look a good thing. 12-10 is a little bit short for my liking, but I think they will go through. Richards Bay, 21-10 at home against Swallows in Umlazi. Our fancy Swallows. You know, Steve's done a good job at Swallows. They are hard to beat. Another game where under 2.5 goals does look the right play. But if I was having a bet on a team, it would definitely be the Birds. And last but not least, Sunday, 6 o'clock, Supersport United against Polokwane. We know Supersport United, they always get through this round. They should be too good for a Polokwane team who, while they haven't been out of form in the last 4 games with 2 wins and 2 draws, you've got to fancy third place Supersport United to get through. So even money does look a fair price to me. On to our soccer exotics for the weekend, and we kick off with our score 6. And the first game up is Liverpool-Everton. I'm banking Liverpool to beat Everton. I'm going the field in the Brentford-Burnley game. I've thrown the draw in at Man City and Brighton and Newcastle at home to Crystal Palace. I've gone the field in the Chelsea-Arsenal game because I think Man United will beat Sheffield United 2-1-6. On to our second soccer 6 on Saturday. I've gone the field in the Golden Arrows, Cape Town City and Chipper United versus Stellenbosch clashes. I'm backing Man City to beat Brighton. Kaizer Chiefs win and draw at home against AmaZulu. I'm going for Arsenal to beat Chelsea and Sekhukhune United to avoid defeat against Royal AM 2-1-6. On to our score 10 for the weekend. I'm banking Liverpool to beat Everton. The field in the Bournemouth-Wolves game. Brentford and Burnley. I'm looking for the upset in that particular match. I don't see Man City losing at home against Brighton and Hove Albion. I'm banking Newcastle United to beat Crystal Palace. On to the second page. I'm going Notts Forest win and draw at home against Luton Town. Siding with Leeds United to avoid defeat at Norwich City. I have to go with Leicester City to beat Swansea City away from home. Arsenal to avoid defeat at Chelsea. And Man United to win at Sheffield United 2-88. On to the tricky-looking Soccer 13. I'm going Arsenal win and draw at Chelsea. A slew of bankers. Man United to beat Sheffield United. Man City to beat Brighton. Newcastle to beat Crystal Palace. Nottingham Forest to beat Luton Town. And chancing Wolves to win at Bournemouth. I've thrown the draw in with Brentford at home to Burnley. Our second page, really tricky. I'm going Leeds United win and draw at Norwich City. Blackburn Rovers win and draw at home against Cardiff City. I don't think Coventry City will lose at Bristol City, as well as Southampton. Don't see them losing at Hull City. I'm going with Middlesbrough win and draw at home against Birmingham City, and Leicester City to beat Swansea 2-56. On to our budgies bets for the weekend, and I'm going Arsenal to beat Chelsea, Wolves to beat Bournemouth, and Tottenham to beat Fulham, and both teams to score 3,600 to 200. Our Premiership team goals only sides, I'm going Arsenal, Wolves, Aston Villa and Tottenham Hotspur, all to score over 1.5 goals, 2,400 to 200. Onto the championship, I'm going Huddersfield to beat QPR, West Brom to beat Plymouth Argyle and both teams to score, and Coventry City and Sunderland, handicap +1, that's both teams to win or draw, 3,000 to 200. Over 2.5 goals, both teams to score sides are Preston Millwall, Blackburn Stoke City, Cardiff City, Hull Southampton, and Norwich City Leeds United, 3,700 to 200. On to Spain, where I've gone Osasuna to beat Granada, Real Sociedad to beat Mallorca, and Getafe and Valencia, both to score over 1.5 goals, 2,800 to 200. And our Collis King, 6 on Nexa. I'm going Arsenal to beat Chelsea, Tottenham to beat Fulham, West Brom to beat Plymouth Argyle, Osasuna, who are my best bet of the weekend, to beat Granada, Atalanta to beat Genoa, and Fiorentina to beat Empoli, 5,000 to 200. The guys in our last one standing, please guys, 12 o'clock Saturday is closing time. To the rest of us, stay on side.